Saturday night, Chicago. Harrison Moore, 62, billionaire, follows his son's car through rain. Bradley has been sneaking to this neighborhood for months. Tonight, Harrison will find out why. Bradley parks outside Unity House Community Center. A black woman waits at the door. They embrace. Harrison's jaw tightens. He steps out, moves closer. Inside, he hears shouting. A white woman in fur screams at the same black woman his son just hugged. "Don't touch my child with your filthy black hands." "Ma'am, I'm just offering homework help." "Homework? From you? Look at yourself. Poor black, ghetto trash. You shouldn't be allowed near children." Laughter. Someone films. No one defends her. The black woman stands alone, humiliated, surrounded. Harrison watches through the window, disgusted but not at the screaming woman, at the black woman. Bradley always picks the wrong ones, he thinks. He has no idea what he's about to see. What happens next will shatter him completely. The Moore Holdings penthouse sits 52 floors above Chicago. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame a kingdom of steel and glass. Harrison Moore built this view. Every tower, every deal, every zero in his $4.2 billion empire started in this room. He stands before a wall of family photographs, all of them white, all of them smiling, all of them carefully curated. Country clubs with manicured lawns, yacht christenings with champagne toasts, Ivy League graduations with proud handshakes. A lifetime of privilege preserved in silver frames. His late wife Eleanor looks back at him from the center of the display. Soft eyes, gentle smile. The kind of beauty that came from kindness, not genetics. She died 5 years ago, car accident on the highway. The police said she lost control in the rain. Harrison never questioned the report. He was too busy grieving to investigate. He still doesn't understand why she spent every Saturday in neighborhoods he'd never visit. Every week, without fail, she would grab her keys and disappear for hours. "Going to see someone I owe," she'd say when he asked. He never asked who. He never asked why. He was too busy building things that didn't matter to notice the things that did. Harrison's assistant, a young man named Peters, knocks on the mahogany door. His voice is hesitant, apologetic. "Sir, Bradley's been unavailable again. Same pattern. Every Saturday afternoon. Same location in Riverside Heights." "Like Eleanor," Harrison murmurs to himself. The parallel unsettles him more than he wants to admit. He remembers a phone call from years ago. Bradley, 22, home from college for winter break. Voice nervous but hopeful. "Dad, I met someone. I think I love her." Harrison had smiled. "Good. What does she study? What does her family do? Where did they summer?" Silence on the line. The kind of silence that precedes a confession. The kind that warns of boundaries about to be crossed. Then, "She's black, Dad." Harrison's response came fast. Too fast. The words left his mouth before he could consider them, shaped by instincts he'd never examined. "Think about what that means for your future, for the company, for how people will see this family. You can't be serious. I'm not saying you can't see anyone you want. I'm simply saying think about consequences, about boundaries, about the world we live in and the world we're building." Bradley hung up. The click was louder than any argument could have been. They didn't speak for 6 months. When they finally did, the girl was never mentioned again. The relationship had ended. Harrison never learned why. He told himself it was for the best. Natural selection. Bradley never mentioned anyone again. Eleanor knew. She always knew when something was broken between father and son. She had a gift for sensing the silences that mattered. "You look at people wrong," she told Harrison once, late at night, after Bradley had stopped returning calls. "You see background, income, skin color. You don't see them. You're too idealistic, Eleanor. No, Harrison, you're too blind. And someday, that blindness is going to cost you everything you actually care about. He didn't understand then. Now Eleanor is dead, and Bradley disappears every Saturday to the same address. 12 miles south, Unity House Community Center smells like floor polish, crayons, and yesterday's coffee. Children's laughter echoes off brick walls painted with murals of hope. Tara Anderson, 34, sits cross-legged on a worn carpet, reading to a circle of children. Most of them black and brown. Most of them from families who work 2 jobs and still can't afford after-school care. A small boy with missing front teeth raises his hand. "Miss Tara, do you have a daddy?" Tara's smile dims, just for a moment. Then she recovers, because these children need her to be strong. "My daddy doesn't know I exist, sweetheart. He's a rich man, a white man. He gave my mama money and told her to disappear." In the corner, Margaret Collins, 58, silver-streaked hair, volunteer badge pinned to her cardigan, watches her daughter with ancient eyes. Some mothers never stop watching over their children, Margaret tells another volunteer quietly, even when the children don't know they're being watched. Bradley Moore walks in through the side door. 28, polo shirt, scuffed sneakers, no expensive watch, no arrogance. He kneels beside Tara, high-fives a kid, laughs at a joke. No one here knows his father owns half of downtown. In his pocket, Bradley carries a handkerchief embroidered E.M. Eleanor Moore, his mother's. She used to sit in this exact spot. 2 worlds, 1 city, a secret buried for 35 years. Harrison checks his son's GPS. 23 visits, same address. Jim. He decides to follow. Saturday, 6:43 p.m. Rain falls in silver sheets across the south side of Chicago. Harrison drives himself. No chauffeur, no witnesses. He follows Bradley's car south, past the skyline he owns, into neighborhoods he's never entered. The transition is gradual, then sudden. Glass towers give way to brick row houses. Manicured lawns become cracked sidewalks. Boutiques become boarded storefronts. Riverside Heights. Graffiti on brick. Bars on windows, predominantly black. His grip tightens on the leather steering wheel. Why would my son come here? With whom? Bradley parks outside a 2-story building. Faded sign, Unity House Community Center. Paint peeling, windows glowing warm against the gray rain. A woman waits at the door, black, natural hair, warm smile that reaches her eyes. They embrace, not like lovers, like family. But Harrison doesn't see that. He sees what he's been trained to see. No, not again, not another black woman. He remembers the phone call from college, the 6 months of silence, the boundaries he tried to teach. He steps out of the car. Rain soaks through his jacket immediately. He crosses the street, jaw set, ready to intervene, ready to save his son from what he sees as another mistake. But something stops him at the window. He looks inside, and what he sees changes everything. The room is humble. Folding chairs, donated books, children's artwork covering every wall. Nothing like the world Harrison knows. Tara sits on the floor with a girl around 6 years old. The child is crying, shoulders shaking, face buried in her small hands. Tara holds her, gentle, patient, tender, the way a mother holds a child, the way Eleanor used to hold Bradley when he was small. Harrison watches through the rain-streaked glass. His prepared speech evaporates. That's not what I expected, he thinks. That's not how I thought she would. He doesn't finish the thought, because he realizes, what did he expect? Based on what? Her skin color? The girl's voice carries through the cracked window. Small. Wounded.
Why doesn't my daddy ever come to get me?
Tara's voice is soft. The voice of someone who has asked that question herself. Many times. For many years. I used to ask that too, sweetheart. Every day. For 34 years. Your daddy didn't come either? My daddy doesn't know I exist. My mama says he's rich. Very rich. And white. Harrison's blood freezes in his veins. When Mama told him she was pregnant, he said, "This can't happen. Think about the company. Think about my family. Think about everything." Harrison hears his own words. From 35 years ago, in his corner office, to Margaret Collins. He gave Mama $200,000 and told her to disappear. Mama thinks he didn't want me because she was black. Harrison's legs weaken. He braces himself against the cold brick wall. The little girl's voice is innocent, certain. He's bad. Tara shakes her head slowly. Maybe he was scared. Scared of what people would think. Scared of the boundaries he was taught as a little boy. I was angry at him for so long. I wanted to hate him. But then I met someone. Tara reaches into her pocket, pulls out an old photograph, creased, worn soft from years of handling. She came to Unity House every Saturday for 15 years. She was white, rich. I could tell by her clothes, but she didn't look at me like a problem. She didn't look at me like a mixed kid who didn't belong anywhere. She looked at me like a person. She read to me, held me when I was sad, called me her little girl. I never knew her name. I just knew she saw me. Then one day she stopped coming. I heard she died. Car accident. Harrison looks at the photograph in Tara's hand. His heart stops. Eleanor, his wife. Every Saturday. 15 years. Going to see someone I owe. Eleanor wasn't repaying her own debt. She was repaying his. Harrison's knees buckle. He slides down against the wet brick wall. Rain runs down his face, or tears. He can't tell anymore. Tara is his daughter. The daughter he abandoned because her mother was black, because he feared what people would think, because of boundaries he was taught and never questioned. And Eleanor, his wife, loved his daughter for 15 years, in secret, because he wasn't ready, because he never would have understood. Harrison Moore, 62 years old, $4.2 billion. He kneels on a dirty sidewalk and weeps. The door opens. Bradley walks out. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Bradley pulls his father to his feet. Rain drips from Harrison's hair, his collar, his trembling hands. "How long have you been standing here?" Harrison's voice cracks like old wood. "Long enough. Dad, I can explain. She's my daughter." Bradley goes still. His face shifts through a dozen emotions. Surprise, recognition, resignation, and something that looks almost like relief. "Tara." Harrison's voice is barely a whisper. "She's mine, isn't she?" Bradley doesn't answer immediately, but his silence is answer enough. "How long have you known?" 4 months. I ran a DNA test without telling anyone. Sent samples to a private lab across the country. The results came back 99.9% sibling match. "Why didn't you tell me?" Bradley's face hardens. The softness from inside Unity House disappears completely. What remains is something cold, something that has been building for years. "Tell you what, Dad, that you have a daughter you abandoned because her mother was black?" His voice is sharp now, cutting, precise. "You made your position perfectly clear when I called from college. Remember? Think about consequences. Think about boundaries. You made it very clear that a black woman wasn't acceptable in this family. Harrison flinches like he's been struck across the face. Tara is my sister, Dad. My sister. And you abandoned her because you were afraid of what your country club friends would think. Why would I ever tell you anything? The rain falls. Silence stretches between them. Father and son. Strangers who share blood and nothing else. Mom knew. Bradley pulls out the handkerchief. E.M. Eleanor Moore. The initials are faded now, worn with love. She came here every Saturday. For 15 years. She loved Tara because you couldn't. Because you wouldn't. Because loving Tara would have meant admitting you were wrong. Harrison stares at the embroidered initials. His wife's handkerchief. In his son's pocket. Connecting them all to a daughter he threw away like yesterday's newspaper. She never said, because she knew who you were, Dad. She knew you weren't ready. She knew you probably never would be. So she loved Tara in secret, the way she did everything good, quietly, without asking for credit. I can change. Bradley laughs. It's not a happy sound. Words are easy, Dad. They come out of your mouth like water from a faucet. They mean nothing. He turns and walks back inside. The door closes with a quiet click that sounds like a verdict being delivered. Harrison stands alone in the rain. The next morning, Unity House receives a letter. Official letterhead. Moore Holdings logo embossed in gold at the top. Notice of non-renewal pursuant to Section 8.3b of Chicago Municipal Code. Premises must be vacated within 90 days. Tara reads it twice, then a third time. Her hands tremble slightly before she forces them to be still. 200 families depend on Unity House, free legal aid for people who can't afford lawyers, after-school programs for children whose parents work double shifts, food assistance for seniors choosing between medicine and meals, gone in 90 days because a corporation decided the land was worth more empty. She doesn't know the corporation is her father's. She doesn't know that the man who signed this eviction is the same man who paid her mother to disappear 35 years ago. She calls an emergency community meeting. The live stream goes viral within hours, shared thousands of times across every platform. Mrs. Patterson, 72, stands at the microphone. Her voice shakes but doesn't break. 43 years of survival have made her stronger than any corporation. I've lived in Riverside Heights for 43 years. My husband died in our apartment. My children took their first steps on these streets. My grandchildren learned to read at Unity House. Where am I supposed to go at my age? Who's going to take me in? A little boy tugs Tara's sleeve. His eyes are wide with worry. Miss Tara, will we still have homework help? Who's going to teach me to read better? Bradley sits in the back row, face pale. He knows who signed that eviction order. He knows whose name is on the letterhead. His father's company, his family's legacy, built on displacing people like the ones in this room. 12 miles north, Harrison watches the live stream from his office. He sees Tara leading the meeting. Strong, composed, fighting for people who have nothing. Leading with the natural authority of someone who has earned every ounce of trust the hard way. He sees his son among them, choosing the other side. Choosing people over profit. Harrison picks up the phone, calls Victor Callahan. Victor, why are we closing Unity House? Victor Callahan is 52, Executive Vice President, 20 years at Moore Holdings. Smooth voice, smoother smile. The kind of man who never sweats, never panics, never shows his cards. Land value, sir. The Riverside property is worth significantly more developed. We're projecting $40 million in revenue from the luxury condos. Standard business decision, nothing personal. Stop the eviction. Pause. The silence stretches just a beat too long. Sir? I said stop it. Immediately. Look into the options. But sir, with respect, this project has been in motion for 18 months. There are contracts, investors, political considerations. Victor's voice shifts. Something Harrison can't quite identify. A note of warning or threat. Accidents happen during transitions, Victor adds casually. People get attached to buildings, to causes. It's best not to let emotions interfere with business. Harrison frowns. What does that mean? Nothing, sir. Just managing expectations. The call ends, but Victor's words linger in Harrison's mind. Accidents happen. Like Eleanor's accident? That evening, Harrison stands at Eleanor's grave. Autumn leaves scatter across the marble headstone. You knew. All those years. You loved my daughter because I was too blind, too proud, too afraid. He kneels on the wet grass. I'm going to fix this. I swear. I'll become the father she deserved. Harrison calls his private investigator. I need everything on Victor Callahan. Every transaction, every offshore account. That's your own VP, sir. I know exactly who he is. Pause. There's something else. About your wife's accident. The brake lines weren't damaged by the crash. They were cut beforehand. The original police report was altered. Someone buried the evidence. Harrison's blood runs cold. Who? Someone inside Moore Holdings. Someone with power. Eleanor didn't die in an accident. Eleanor was murdered. Harrison arrives at Unity House the next morning. No suit. Jeans, polo shirt, baseball cap pulled low. No Rolex. He wants to blend in with the neighborhood. He fails completely. The neighborhood watches him walk from his car. A white man in designer jeans that cost more than most monthly rents. Clean sneakers that have never touched a cracked sidewalk. He might as well be wearing a neon sign announcing his wealth. Inside, the community center hums with activity. Phones ringing. Children laughing somewhere down the hall. Volunteers sorting donated food into boxes. The smell of coffee and determination. The receptionist, Janice, 60s, reading glasses on a beaded chain, gray locks pulled back elegantly, looks up from her desk. Takes him in with one practiced glance that misses nothing. Can I help you, sir? I need legal advice about some property documents. Our legal services are for residents earning below 200% of the federal poverty line. Do you have documentation of income? Harrison blinks. I just need a few minutes with someone. It's quite important. Janice smiles, patient but firm. The smile of someone who has dealt with men like him before. Men who assume every door opens for them because every door always has. Sir, our resources are limited, very limited. We prioritize those who have no other options. Based on your appearance, I'm guessing you have other options available to you.
You don't understand.
I understand perfectly well, sir. You need a lawyer. There are plenty of excellent firms downtown who would be happy to take your money. Have a good day. Harrison opens his mouth, closes it. For the first time in 30 years, someone has said no. Politely, firmly, without apology or explanation. And it's a black woman, sitting behind a folding table in a building his company is trying to destroy. He walks back to his car, sits in silence, stares at the building through his windshield. Through the window, he watches people enter Unity House. Mostly black and brown faces, young mothers with babies on their hips, elderly men walking slowly with canes, teenagers carrying textbooks. All of them walking through a door that just closed in his face. His entire life, Harrison has walked through any door he wanted. Money opened everything. Power unlocked the rest. He has never been told no by anyone who couldn't be bought, pressured, or simply ignored. But this door, the door to his daughter's world, doesn't accept money or power. He thinks about Margaret Collins, 23 years old in 1989. Brilliant, ambitious, beautiful, black. When she told him she was pregnant, he didn't see a woman carrying his child. He didn't see a future. He saw a problem, a risk, a boundary being crossed that threatened everything he'd built. This can't happen. Think about the company. Think about my family. He remembers her face, the way hope drained from her eyes like water from a broken vessel, the way she took the check. $200,000. Not because she wanted to, because she had no choice. Harrison gave her money to disappear. And she did. For 35 years. Now he sits in a parking lot, rejected by a receptionist, and wonders, is this what it feels like? To be judged in seconds? To be dismissed without a hearing? He's experienced it once. Margaret experienced it her entire life. Tara experiences it every day. His phone buzzes. An email forwarded from an anonymous address. Victor Callahan to a construction contractor. Expedite timeline before press catches wind. HR will handle optics. Need this clean and quiet. Another email. Victor to City Housing Director Donald Price. Fee arrangements confirmed. Proceed with Phase 2. Deposit cleared offshore account as discussed. Fee arrangements. Offshore accounts. Federal money disappearing. Harrison knows exactly what that means. Kickbacks, bribes, corruption at every level. He calls his investigator. I need everything on the Riverside Renewal Project. Every dollar, every signature, and Eleanor's full accident file. The original, before it was altered. His wife was murdered. His daughter is in danger. And his own VP might be responsible for both. Daniel Wright looks like a journalist. 41. Wire-rimmed glasses. Notepad always ready. Voice recorder in his jacket pocket. The kind of man who blends into any room and remembers everything. He introduces himself to Tara 3 days after the eviction notice goes viral. Chicago Tribune, investigative desk. I've been following the Riverside Renewal story for months. I want to expose what's really happening to this community. Tara eyes him carefully. She's learned to be suspicious of people who show up offering help. In her experience, help usually comes with strings attached. Why should I trust you? Because I've seen this pattern before. Developers pushing out communities. Federal money meant for affordable housing disappearing into private pockets. Politicians looking the other way because the checks keep clearing. The only way to fight back is with evidence that can't be ignored or buried. Bradley stands nearby. Something about Daniel feels off. Too polished. Too eager. Too many questions about things that don't matter to a journalist. But Tara needs allies. She has 200 families counting on her. 90 days before they lose everything. She nods. What do you need from us? Everything you have. Internal documents, emails, meeting notes, anything that shows what Moore Holdings is really doing behind the scenes. Over the next week, Bradley provides what he can access without raising suspicion. Memos from Moore Holdings, Victor Callahan's travel records, budget documents for Riverside Renewal, emails that weren't meant to be forwarded. Daniel takes meticulous notes. His handwriting is small and neat. He asks follow-up questions, clarifying questions, questions that dig deeper than any journalist would need. Does Harrison Moore know about Unity House personally? Not as far as I know, Tara says. Why would the CEO care about one community center? Has anyone from the Moore family ever contacted you directly? Bradley tenses visibly. Just background questions, right? Daniel smiles, too smooth, too reassuring. Of course, just building context for the story. The more I understand, the better I can tell it. Do you have any personal connection to the Moore family? Any history with them at all? Tara frowns. Why would I have a connection to a billionaire I've never met? Just covering all angles. You never know what details become important later. He asks too many questions, records too many details. His eyes are too sharp behind those wire-rimmed glasses.
Bradley notices everything, files it away, says nothing. Yet. Harrison's investigator delivers financial records that same week. Brown envelope, no return address, contents that could destroy careers and send men to prison. $2.3 million in federal urban renewal grant funds. Money specifically designated for affordable housing and community development. Transferred from the city to Riverside Development LLC, a subsidiary of Moore Holdings that exists only on paper. Then to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands registered to a shell company with no employees and no physical address. The shell company traces back to Victor Callahan's brother-in-law. Email chains surface next. Victor Callahan and Donald Price, City Housing Director. 43 messages over 6 months. Professional language hiding criminal intent. Fee arrangements for Phase 2 approval ready to process as discussed. Acceptable displacement rate confirmed, 200 families. Timeline accelerated per our conversation. Community resistance expected. Recommend accelerating timeline before organized opposition forms. Handle optics internally. Meeting minutes from a sealed board session paint an even darker picture. Motion to approve expanded development contingent on complete tenant clearance. Passed 4-1. Dissenting vote, M. Collins. Notes sealed per executive privilege. Margaret Collins, Senior Administrator. She voted against the displacement scheme. 3 weeks after that vote, Margaret was terminated. Official paperwork cited corporate restructuring. Real reason, she knew too much and refused to stay quiet. If you've ever watched the powerful protect the powerful, you know what comes next. But this time, something different happens. Harrison confronts Bradley at the penthouse. The view of Chicago spreads below them like a kingdom. Father and son on opposite sides of a glass table that cost more than most cars. How long have you known about Tara? 4 months, since I ran the DNA test. And you never told me? Tell you what, Dad. Bradley's voice is ice. That you have a daughter you abandoned because her mother was black? You made your position on race crystal clear when I was in college. Think about consequences. Think about boundaries. I remember every word. I've replayed that conversation in my head 1,000 times. Harrison has no response. There is no response. Mom knew, Bradley continues. She found the check you gave Margaret. $200,000 to make a woman and your child disappear. She was furious at you. For months. But then she met Tara. And she couldn't be angry at the child. Only at you. So she loved Tara in secret. For 15 years. Flashback, 1989. Moore Holdings. Harrison's corner office. Margaret Collins, 23 years old. Executive assistant with an MBA she earned at night while working full-time. Sharp. Ambitious. Black. Harrison is 26. Already married to Eleanor. Already building his empire. Already learning that rules apply differently to men with money and power. The affair lasts 6 months. He tells himself it means nothing. A distraction. A mistake that no one needs to know about. Then Margaret says 2 words that change everything. I'm pregnant. Harrison's face turns to stone. This can't happen. It already has, Harrison. It's happening right now. Do you understand what this means? For the company? For my family? For everything I've built? Margaret stares at him, sees him clearly for the first time. By everything, you mean having a child with a black woman. That's what this is really about. He doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. His silence confirms everything. I thought you were different, she says, voice cracking like thin ice. I thought what you said to me was real. I thought you saw me. I'll take care of you. Financially. But you have to leave Chicago. Start over somewhere no one knows us. He writes a check. $200,000. Slides it across his mahogany desk like a business transaction. Margaret looks at the check, then at the man who wrote it. This is the price of your child's disappearance? It's to ensure you and the baby have a good life. Somewhere else. Somewhere this won't follow either of us. Margaret takes the check. Not because she wants to, because she has no choice. Because refusing means raising a child alone with nothing. Because the system gives men like Harrison all the power and women like Margaret none. At the door, she turns back one final time.
You'll never know your child. You understand that?
Harrison's jaw tightens. I think that's for the best. For everyone. Margaret walks out. She doesn't cry until the elevator doors close. 35 years of silence begin. Harrison meets Margaret in secret. A coffee shop in a neighborhood neither of them belongs to. First conversation in 35 years. You came back to work at Moore Holdings after everything I did to you. I needed to watch you, to understand who you really were, to know if Tara would ever be safe knowing her father. And what did you conclude? That you don't deserve her. But Eleanor did. Eleanor found you? 15 years ago. She found the check. She investigated on her own. When she learned about Tara, she was furious at you, but she couldn't hate the child. So she came to Unity House every Saturday, read to Tara, held her, called her my little girl. Eleanor never told me. Because you weren't ready to hear it. Because you would have made it about yourself. Because you would have ruined the only good thing that came from your cowardice. Silence stretches between them. Victor knows about Tara, Margaret continues, her voice dropping. He knows she's your daughter. He's been keeping files on everyone who might threaten his position, and Victor doesn't let threats survive. What are you saying? Eleanor was going to tell you everything, the week before she died. Victor found out, and then Eleanor had a very convenient car accident. Harrison's blood turns to ice in his veins. Protect Tara, before it's too late. Daniel calls a meeting. His voice on the phone is eager, excited, the voice of a journalist about to break a major story. I have a source inside Moore Holdings, someone high up. They want to meet face to face, but they're nervous. They'll only talk to you, Tara. Alone. One extra person, and they disappear. Tara's pulse quickens. This could be the breakthrough. The evidence they need to save Unity House. Bradley frowns. Every instinct screams warning. Something doesn't feel right about this. Why alone? Why so secretive? The source is scared, Daniel says smoothly. They're risking everything to come forward. One wrong move and they're finished. This is our only shot. Against Bradley's objections, Tara agrees. She has 90 days to save 200 families. She doesn't have the luxury of caution. She drives to an abandoned warehouse on the industrial outskirts of Chicago. Rusted gates, broken windows. The kind of place where bad things happen and no one hears the screams. Daniel is already there when she arrives, standing in a pool of light from a single working bulb. So is Victor Callahan. Tara stops in the doorway, her keys still in her hand, her phone still in her pocket. Daniel? What is this? Daniel's face changes. The warmth evaporates like morning fog burning off. What remains is cold calculation. A predator revealing its true nature. Victor is my brother. Different mothers, same father. I've been reporting to him since the day I introduced myself to you. Tara's stomach drops through the floor. Every conversation, every document she shared, every secret she revealed. You lied about everything. Not everything. The corruption is real. The evidence is real. We just can't let you expose any of it. Victor steps forward. 52. Tailored suit even in an abandoned warehouse. Smile like a door closing forever. Ms. Anderson, you've become a problem. A very persistent, very inconvenient problem. You can't silence everyone. There are copies of everything.
There are people who know what you've done. I don't need to silence everyone. His voice drops to something almost intimate, almost gentle. Just you. He circles her slowly, a predator sizing up prey. Eleanor Moore was a problem too. She asked too many questions about you, about Margaret, about where the development money was really going. She was going to tell her husband everything. Tara's breath catches in her throat. Eleanor? Harrison's wife? Victor's smile widens. She got too close, started putting pieces together, was going to ruin 20 years of careful work, and then she had an accident. Brake lines are surprisingly easy to tamper with. The words hang in the air, heavy, deadly. You killed her. I solved a problem. Just business. Just like I'll solve you. Tara's hand moves slowly to her pocket. Her phone has been recording since she walked through the door. Voice memo. Running silently. Victor doesn't notice. He's too busy enjoying his moment of power. Make it look like an accident, he tells Daniel. Like Eleanor, the highway, the brakes, the tragic outcome. Another young woman who shouldn't have been driving so fast in the rain. Daniel nods. Consider it done. Tara runs. She doesn't think. Doesn't plan. Just moves. Survival instinct taking over. Through the door. Across the gravel parking lot. Into her car. Keys in the ignition. Engine roaring to life. Phone pressed to her ear as she tears onto the highway. Bradley's number. Ringing. Ringing. Bradley! Daniel is Victor's brother. They killed Eleanor. They're coming for me right now. Bradley's voice is sharp with fear. Where are you? Highway 94, heading south, going as fast as I can. I'm coming. Don't stop for anything. Don't slow down. I'm tracking your phone. Harrison is at his desk when his investigator calls. Sir, I have Eleanor's original accident file. The brake lines weren't damaged in the crash. They were severed cleanly with a tool, cut before she ever got in the car. Harrison's hands shake uncontrollably. Who had access to her car? Someone inside Moore Holdings. Someone with security clearances and mechanical knowledge. Victor Callahan. Harrison dials Bradley. No answer. Voicemail. He dials Tara. The number Margaret gave him for emergencies. Voicemail. Something is very, very wrong. Moore Holdings releases a statement that evening. Allegations regarding the Riverside Renewal Project are baseless and defamatory. The company has always operated within legal and ethical boundaries. The statement was drafted 3 days before the allegations went public. Victor was prepared. Victor is always prepared. But he's never faced a billionaire with nothing left to lose. Tara's car screams down Highway 94. Speedometer climbing, 75, 80, 85. Rain hammering the windshield. Wipers barely keeping up. Her foot hits the brake pedal. It sinks to the floor. Nothing. The steering wheel shakes in Tara's hands. The engine screams. Wind howls through the cracked window. She pumps the brake again. 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 Nothing. 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 The pedal sinks uselessly to the floor each time. Ahead, concrete barrier. Overpass supports. Solid, unforgiving, rushing closer with every heartbeat. 500 feet. Her hands are slick with sweat. Her heart pounds against her ribs hard enough to bruise. 400 feet. This is how Eleanor died. On a highway. In the rain. Brakes that didn't work because someone made sure they wouldn't. 300 feet. This is how she's going to die. Headlights appear in her side mirror. A car pulling alongside at dangerous speed. She recognizes it through the blur of rain. Bradley's car. His window rolls down. Rain whips between them. His face is pale but determined. Jump! Bradley screams over the wind and rain. Open the door and jump now! I can't. It's too fast. I'm right beside you. Jump and I'll catch you. 200 feet. Tara's hand finds the door handle, fingers slipping on wet metal, gripping, pulling. The door fights against the wind, against the speed, against every instinct telling her to hold on. 150 feet. She pushes the door open. Wind tears at her clothes. Rain blinds her completely. She jumps. Her body hits the hood of Bradley's car. Glass cracks beneath her weight. She rolls. Bradley swerves to avoid crushing her. His car clips the concrete barrier. The world spins. His car flips once, twice, lands upside down with a sound of screaming metal. Tara hits the wet asphalt, rolls, stops. Her car, empty now, continues another 200 feet, hits the barrier, explodes. Flame billows into the rain. Black smoke rises against the gray sky, then silence. The kind of silence that follows violence, then sirens. Right now, everything looks lost. A son in the hospital, a daughter almost murdered, a wife who died protecting secrets she discovered. But remember, Harrison Moore is still standing. And for the first time in his life, he's ready to fight for something other than money. Harrison runs into the emergency room. His face is gray. His hands won't stop shaking. His suit is disheveled. He didn't take time to change. Bradley lies on a gurney. Bandages from head to waist. Glass cuts across his face and arms. Broken ribs pressing against internal organs. Fractured left arm immobilized in a splint. Machines beeping a steady rhythm. The doctor speaks, but Harrison barely processes the words. He'll survive. The injuries are serious but not life-threatening. He was lucky. Very lucky. In the waiting room, Tara sits alone on a plastic chair. Blood on her borrowed scrubs, not hers. Scrapes on her palms, her knees, her cheek from the asphalt. Hospital blanket around her shoulders. Harrison sees her. Their eyes meet across the sterile waiting room. Father and daughter. First time truly face to face. No window between them. No secrets between them. Neither speaks. There are no words for this moment. Harrison sits beside Bradley's bed. Machines hum their mechanical lullabies. Rain continues to tap against the window, gentle now, as if apologizing for earlier. Bradley's eyes flutter open, unfocused, heavy with painkillers and exhaustion. Did I save her? You saved her. Good. A weak smile crosses his bruised face. She's family, Dad. She's family. Harrison takes his son's hand. First time in years. The skin is cold but alive. I know, son. I mean really family. DNA confirmed. 99.9%. She's my sister. I know. I saw her through the window at Unity House. I heard her story. Bradley's eyes close. His breathing steadies into sleep. Harrison watches his son. The son who nearly died saving the sister Harrison abandoned 35 years ago. Both his children almost killed in one night. Because of his blindness, his cowardice, the walls he built around his heart. Tara stands in the doorway of Bradley's hospital room. Her borrowed scrubs are too big. The cuts on her face have been cleaned and bandaged with careful hands. She moves carefully, every muscle aching from the impact with asphalt. Her eyes move from the bandaged figure in the bed to the gray-haired man holding his hand. Harrison looks up, sees her watching from the threshold. For a long moment, no one speaks. The heart monitor counts seconds. Beep, beep, beep. Tara steps inside. Her voice is steady, cold, controlled by decades of practice. You're Harrison Moore. Yes. You're my father. It's not a question. She's had hours to put the pieces together. Bradley's reaction when he first saw Harrison in the rain, the DNA test he mentioned,
The way Harrison looks at her, like he's seeing a ghost and a mirror at once. Harrison rises from the chair, faces her fully. His eyes are red-rimmed. His face is exhausted beyond sleep. Yes, I'm your father. 35 years. Each word drops like a stone into still water. Did you know I existed? He could lie. He spent a lifetime lying. To others, to himself, to everyone who trusted him. But something broke inside him on that sidewalk in the rain. The walls are rubble now. Yes, I knew. I've known since before you were born. Tara waits. Silence can be a weapon too. I chose not to know you. Chose to pay your mother to disappear. Because she was black. Because I was afraid of what people would think. Because of boundaries I was taught as a child and never had the courage to question. At least you're honest now, finally. I don't deserve forgiveness. I know that. But I will spend whatever time I have left trying to protect you. Trying to become the father you should have had from the beginning. Whether you want me to or not. The door opens. Margaret enters. She sees Harrison. 35 years collapse into a single glance. Everything unspoken between them, the love, the betrayal, the check, the decades of silence, fills the room like smoke. Tara, this is... I know who he is, Mom. I figured it out. Margaret's eyes fill with tears she's held back for decades. She reaches for her daughter, holds her tight. Harrison watches from outside the circle, where he belongs, where he put himself 35 years ago. 35 years, Harrison. Margaret's voice is thick with contained emotion. 35 years I raised her alone, worked double shifts, sacrificed everything, because you were afraid of a black child. I know. Eleanor found me, 15 years ago. She loved Tara because you wouldn't. Came every Saturday. Called her my little girl. She died trying to protect her. I know that now. And what are you going to do about it? Harrison's jaw sets. Something hardens in his eyes. Not anger. Resolution. I'm going to destroy Victor Callahan. I'm going to expose everything he's done. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life becoming the father Tara deserved from the beginning. Margaret's voice is flat. Words are easy, Harrison. Then watch my actions. Tara pulls back from her mother's embrace, studies Harrison with eyes that have learned not to trust. Your company tried to kill me tonight. Your VP murdered your wife. What exactly are you going to do? I'm going to testify against my own company, admit everything, and make sure Victor and Daniel spend the rest of their lives in prison. Tara studies him. We'll see. She turns and walks out. 3 a.m., hospital chapel. Fluorescent lights hum overhead like mechanical prayers. Tara sits alone in the front pew, still wearing borrowed scrubs, still processing a night that upended 34 years of certainty. Harrison finds her there, hesitates in the doorway like a man approaching sacred ground. May I? She doesn't answer. He sits anyway, leaves careful distance between them. Silence stretches. Neither knows where to begin. Maybe there is no beginning for a conversation 35 years overdue. Tara speaks first. Why did you leave her? My mother? I was a coward. I was already married, building an empire. I told myself leaving was the right thing, the responsible thing, the practical thing. The right thing was to disappear. I gave her money. I thought... Money. Tara's voice sharpens like broken glass. That's what you think a father is? A check with enough zeros? No. Harrison's voice drops to something barely audible. A father is what I should have been. What I was too afraid to be. What I threw away because the world I grew up in told me people like your mother were less than. And God help me, I believed it. For 35 years, I believed it. Silence. Eleanor knew.
Tara says finally. She came every Saturday. 15 years. She loved me when you couldn't. I know. Why couldn't you? Harrison is silent for a long moment. The chapel seems to hold its breath. Because I looked at your mother and saw her skin color before I saw her. I looked at the idea of you, my child, and saw a problem. A risk. A violation of boundaries I'd been taught my whole life. He pauses. It wasn't until I saw you through that window holding that little girl that I finally saw a person. My daughter. And I hated myself for every year I wasted. Dawn breaks gray and cold. Harrison returns to the penthouse, opens Eleanor's desk for the first time since her funeral. The drawer he couldn't bear to touch because it hurt too much. Hidden compartment in the back. An envelope in her handwriting. If something happens to me. His hands shake as he opens it. Eleanor's voice rises from the page. Harrison, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And it wasn't an accident. I discovered what Victor is doing. The kickbacks. The displacement scheme. The federal money vanishing into offshore accounts. He knows I know. He's threatened me. But there's something else. Something I should have told you years ago. I know about Tara. I found the check you gave Margaret. I was so angry, Harrison. Angrier than I've ever been. But when I met Tara, I couldn't hate her. She's innocent. She's brilliant. She's everything good that could have come from you. I've spent 15 years loving your daughter because you wouldn't. If something happens to me, Victor is responsible. And Harrison, change. For Tara, for yourself. Become the man I always hoped you could be. I loved you, even when you made it hard. Eleanor. Tears fall on the paper, blur the ink. He meets Margaret one final time before the hearing. Eleanor was going to tell me everything. That week. Yes. She thought maybe you'd finally changed enough to deserve Tara. And Victor found out. Victor killed her to protect himself. To protect the scheme. To protect everything he'd built on lies. Harrison stands. I'm going to bring him down. Publicly. I'm going to testify against my own company. Admit everything, including what I did to you. Margaret studies him. Weighing. Measuring. You'll lose everything, Harrison. Your company. Your reputation. Your fortune. I already lost everything that mattered. 35 years ago. I'm just now realizing it. Chicago City Council chambers. 9 a.m. Standing room only. News cameras line the walls like sentries. Reporters clutch phones and notepads. FBI agents position themselves near the exits, quietly, deliberately. Victor Callahan sits in the front row with his legal team. 3 lawyers in matching gray suits. He's confident, tailored, smiling like a man who has never lost. Daniel Wright sits beside him. Same confidence, same blindness to what's coming. Councilwoman Eleanor Davis calls the hearing to order. The gavel echoes. First witness, Margaret Collins. She walks to the stand with the dignity of a woman who has survived 35 years of silence, takes the oath, opens her statement. Victor Callahan threatened Eleanor more directly. He told her to stop asking questions. 1 week later, she was dead. It wasn't an accident. It was murder. The gallery gasps. Whispers ripple through the chamber. Second witness, Tara Anderson. She holds up her phone. Steady hands, calm voice. Victor's voice fills the chamber. Make it look like an accident. Like Eleanor. The highway. The brakes. Victor's attorney leaps up. That recording is... An FBI agent stands. Authenticated and admissible. Evidence appears on screens throughout the chamber. Wire transfers. $2.3 million to offshore accounts. Email chains. Fee arrangements confirmed. Altered autopsy reports. Brake lines severed with a tool. Daniels texts to Victor. I have everything. They trust me completely. Daniel's face goes white. Then Harrison Moore takes the stand. Absolute silence. My name is Harrison Moore. I am the CEO of Moore Holdings. I am here to testify against my own company and against myself. No one moves. Cameras flash. 35 years ago, I had a relationship with a woman named Margaret Collins. She was black. When she told me she was pregnant, I gave her $200,000 and told her to disappear. Because I was afraid. Afraid of what people would think. Afraid of boundaries I'd been taught since childhood. He pauses, looks at Tara in the gallery. That child, my daughter, is here today. Her name is Tara Anderson. She is strong and brilliant, everything I am not, and I am proud to call her my daughter. Margaret squeezes Tara's hand. My wife Eleanor discovered my secret. Instead of hating me, she loved my daughter for 15 years, in secret, because I couldn't. Victor Callahan murdered Eleanor to protect his scheme. Daniel Wright helped him try to murder Tara. Harrison faces Victor directly. I have the evidence. The FBI has the evidence. Justice will not wait. FBI agents move. Victor rises. You can't. Handcuffs click shut. Daniel tries to run. Blocked. Arrested. Councilwoman Davis brings down the gavel. This council refers all findings to the State Attorney General for criminal prosecution. Victor's attorney issues a statement as his client is led away. Mr. Callahan maintains his innocence and looks forward to his day in court. The words echo in the empty space he leaves behind. 2 weeks later, Unity House reopens. A new sign hangs above the entrance. Unity House Community Center, supported by the Harrison Moore Foundation. Not anonymous. Public. Accountable. Tara cuts the ribbon. Children rush inside, laughing. Bradley stands in the crowd, arm in a sling, smiling through healing bruises. Margaret stands beside her daughter, openly. Finally. Harrison watches from the edge, outside the circle, where he's learning to wait. After the ceremony, Tara approaches him. I don't know if I can ever forgive you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for time. Time for what? To learn how to be your father. To unlearn everything I was taught. If you'll give me the chance. Silence. Eleanor believed people could change. Do you? Tara considers. Ask me again in a year. Harrison nods. 1 year. I'll prove it with actions. A photographer gathers them. Harrison, Tara, Bradley, Margaret. Awkward. Broken. But standing together. First photo of a family learning to see. Harrison Moore spent 35 years seeing color before seeing people. It took a rain-streaked window and a truth he'd buried to finally see clearly. He taught his son to see opportunities. Now his daughter is teaching him to see people. This story is fiction, but the prejudice is real. The families displaced are real. If this moved you, share it. Subscribe. I'll keep telling stories about people learning to see, and if you've ever been judged before you were seen, your story matters. Tell it.